Welcome to Intelligent Human Leadership, leading yourself and your team. Do you ever find yourself grappling with a lack of confidence in your team? Or battling the relentless waves of concern and fear? Are the pressures to meet client expectations and the burden of missed opportunities weighing you down? On this podcast, you'll discover the strategies and insights that will reignite your team's morale and help you find the harmony and knowledge you seek to propel your business forward. Here, we explore innovative ways to reignite your creative spirit and achieve greatness, empowering you to lead with intelligence, compassion, and resilience. If you're ready to dive deep into your core of leadership challenges and be guided toward success, here's your host, founder of Steward Your Business, David Carr.
Welcome back to the Intelligent Human Leadership Podcast. So grateful to have you here once again. Today, in the United States, it is Election Day when I'm recording this podcast. So you guys can mark the date, November 5th, Tuesday, year 2024. For those of you watching the video, you see my little sticker here. I did vote. I actually voted ahead and got that in. And so I thought, you hear me talk a lot about this on this podcast, obviously, being an intelligent human leader, and we certainly hope that our elected officials are that. But unfortunately, many are not. That said, I'm going to talk about a story you may or may not have heard before. It's an old story, but one that has shared what is a good leader look like? What does that person show up like? And it's in the form of a parable. If you're not familiar with the parable format, it's been used for many hundreds and thousands of years, if you will. But for those of you that aren't familiar with it, Jesus was one that used parables a lot because he had a lot of followers that didn't quite understand what he was talking about at times, or put it in ways that they could understand better. And so one of the parables comes from the Bible in the book of John. You guys can look it up if you're interested. It's in chapter 10, but it's this good shepherd analogy, parable of understanding. In today's age, we don't, many of us are not living in pastoral lives. We don't have sheep or livestock around us. I'm here in Southern California. I've been around them. Fortunately, I've had that somewhat of an experience over the course of my life, but it's not something that I've dealt with on a day-to-day basis by any means. And so I thought, though, it would be really helpful to give you a picture or a different way of seeing what does a good leader look like? And this is from the lens and a view back in biblical times of a shepherd. A shepherd was one that looked after the flock, and was responsible for taking care of all of those sheep, all of those animals, making sure they're kept from harm, getting the right food, getting them in the right place where they need to move to and from. And so whether you are a Christian or not, or whatever your spiritual persuasion is, I want to encourage you to be open to just listening to the story here, and in your mind, hearing what does that good shepherd look like? Because I think that as a leader, we are a shepherd or a steward, and steward your business of resources, and how we take care of those, how do we tend those, makes a big difference on whether we are a successful leader or not. And are we really having the impact and influence that we truly desire in our lives? And so I'm going to go through this today with you on the podcast. I hope you enjoy this a little bit, but I think it's something a little different. And for me, it's made a big difference in my own journey. I personally come from a faith in Christ, and that's my foundation and understanding. But it's taken years of understanding and ways of being, and I love learning from other walks of life. And so I welcome your comments and feedback as you listen to the podcast here, but I hope that as you listen to it, you open your ears to hearing what does the voice of a good leader look like. You've heard me talk about 5 voices, but today I want to talk about the voice of that shepherd who speaks with clarity. One of the things that talks about early on in this passage you can read about was that the sheep know the master's voice. They know that shepherd's voice. They can hear them clearly. They are consistent. They help them, guide them. And so as an effective shepherd or team leader, you're helping your teams. They're trusting you. They're relying on you. They can trust your words. You know that their actions align with their integrity and that it's not a way of misleading. So early on in this passage, they talk about the shepherd will walk through the gate. They can walk through the gate. The sheep are no problem. But those that would rather be a thief or robber, they're going to sneak in because they know the sheep's not going to trust their voice. They know that they haven't built that relationship with that shepherd, if you will. And so you may have people that come in the organization that try to, unfortunately, be deceptive and try to manipulate people for their own well-being and for them not, but they're not looking after the flock. And so I want you to think about, how is your voice showing up? And does your team know your voice? Do they trust your voice? Are you transparent and honest in your work, in the way you show up? Or is there things that are out of alignment with you, out of alignment with your integrity? I'm not here to make you feel bad about yourself, but I also want you to look critically about taking ownership of all that's going on in your life with your teams, your organization. Because once you do that, you can actually positively make changes. If you're a victim, if you're just continuing to bulldoze ahead and not take assessment of that, it can be very damaging. And so we want to make sure that you speak clearly, consistently, and that you build trust with your team. And it's just as a shepherd does with their sheep, that they follow this shepherd out into the wilderness at times. And so how do we do that? How do we show care, concern, for and being that good leader for our team? We have to recognize how we can help them too. What does that look like? It's going to be different for different people. I just had a conversation with a president of a company, and we were talking about how he had to step out of meetings because he was organizing the meetings, he was coordinating them all, and he's realized, I'm not really helping the team here. I'm actually being more of a hindrance, and I'm not getting to where I need to be on other things. And so I'm not really being a good and effective leader. If you're a shepherd, I love shepherds have sheepdogs, right? That come alongside and they help them. They recognize that they need to have the sheepdogs do what they do best and herding the sheep along. And so where's your team? Where are they getting alignment? Are they in alignment? Are they having difficulty? Are they fighting with each other? Right? As a good leader, we need to be able to focus on consistency and integrity. Not just our words. Certainly our words are important, but our actions that follow with those words that create that voice that they can trust and not misleading them. And you have to own when you do mislead or when you have misspoken. I think it's really important that we recognize when we've fallen and we just recognize that, hey, this is the facts. I missed the mark here. Because when you do that, you're giving permission to your team to do the same, to recognize, you know what? I missed the mark, and how can I do better? Your team needs to know that you truly care about them. Now, how we show care and how we show appreciation varies. So I'm not going to get too deep into that, but we do need to go and understand that. Again, from your voice to your action. So do you know your strengths of your team or the weaknesses? Do you really know their needs? Have you really evaluated them? Or are you just kind of coming in and I was talking with another client today as well, and they were saying how their immediate boss had all these things that they're hitting them with, and I don't think they asked the question of like, well, what do you really need, or what help do you need in order to achieve these things that I'm kind of dinging you on? And sometimes they just come in and just hit you with a bunch of different things. And it's like, okay, well, that's not really helping me achieve the results that you want. Obviously, we need to adjust. And so if you are showing care and appreciation for your team, you'll start to know these things about them. Where are their natural strengths? Where are their natural weaknesses? where we they have needs. And if you can show up with empathy and understanding, your effective leadership is going to go through the roof because they know you care. You're coming from this place of looking after their best interests in mind. And it's going beyond, again, productivity, but really genuine concern. Now, I grant you, some of you are naturally more attuned to this than others. Those of you that are a nurturer voice, for example, much more attuned emotionally than maybe a pioneer or even a connector voice like myself. And so it takes intentionality and understanding and awareness about yourself to where you're like, you know what, I'm not just as clued in as much. And you can, again, be honest and real with other people, because if you actually say that to them, think, look, it's not that I don't care. I want you to know that I really do care. However, the way I show care, for example, guardians are really specific. That guardian voice is a very specific voice. The way to show care is by asking tough questions, by being very critical in their review of how resources are used. That's actually how they show care. Now, it may not be well received, and so you have to be empathetic and understanding of who you're speaking to. But I want you to take time to learn about your team members and build that foundation of trust and loyalty. It will pay dividends in the long run. Sometimes I know it seems counterintuitive. I don't know why I need to spend 15 minutes or half hour talking or listening, really. Probably hopefully be using more of your ears to listen as they share with you. If you get somebody talking and sharing, and especially if they start to get to access their emotions, that's generally speaking a positive thing. Not always, but generally speaking, that can be very beneficial in your relationship because they're kind of getting out challenges and things, and they're feeling safe that they could talk with you. Do you have create a safe space and a place for them? A container, if you will, for them to be vulnerable and to share and to know that you care, and that they can actually trust you as that leader. In doing so, a good leader, again, shepherd, using this analogy, this parable that is shared in the Bible, where he talks about, looking and caring for them. Again, they're going to follow you if they feel that way, but they're not going to follow somebody that's a stranger because they don't know them. They're concerned about who this person is. Are they going to watch after them? The thief, if you will, is there to kill, steal, destroy. A good leader, in my opinion, is there to bring life. They're to bring an abundance. They're coming from a place of, I've got this. I'm here, coming out of a place of a giving, not taking. And in there, we talk also, if we're able to come from that place that we have enough and that we're going to be filled up and we're going to be taken care of, then we can give sacrificially. And sacrificially meaning, I know that I'm going to be okay. I know that there's a better place for me. And I know that if I can do this for somebody, I'm going to be helping them. And ultimately, that's actually, it is a sacrifice in the moment, but ultimately it's really getting me to what I want, is to be able to help and have an impact and a lasting legacy with those in my sphere of influence. And so if you can stand in the gap, hold the shield up, if you will, for your team, to watch out for them, defend them, protect them, and know that you'll go to fight for them. Know that you're not leaving them out, throwing them under the bus, so to speak. This is really challenging. But a leader is one that needs to prioritize their team's needs. Knowing you take care of yourself, you have to obviously be well, but knowing that your needs will be taken care of as you take care of them. So it's sometimes challenging. I even face this at times, to recognize that I can sacrifice, quote unquote, my needs to meet the team's needs because I know that I can get them filled. So in that moment, yes, I'm sacrificing maybe something that I would like, or I really want, or possibly even need. But I know that if I forsake that, I give that up. I let that go because I know that there's something better for the team. By doing so, the trust and the loyalty that you're strengthening and deepening is immeasurable. It really is hard. It's really hard to measure, and it's something that you're going to see last a lifetime. if you truly do it right, and the connection that you have and the relationships that you develop. Because that way of that commitment and that selflessness in leadership is you're creating a sense of security and respect, community. And when you do that, everybody's tension goes down. Everybody's, we can let up a little bit here. And that affects everybody. If you've ever been in an organization where you don't have that, you can feel the tension. You can feel everybody's on edge. They don't know, like, they're just going to, I don't trust the leadership. I don't trust those people in positions of power or authority because they're wielding it for themselves. They're not wielding it and using it to help us. You've heard of that us versus them mentality, unfortunately. And that's not a good place to be. We want to feel like we're all on the same team. We want to make sure that we're all working together. And it starts with you, the leader, though. You have to demonstrate that. You have to demonstrate that way of living sacrificially, protecting them. And that's what, in this parable, the story that Jesus is talking about in the Bible, is that he's giving this example of how he wants to be a leader to the Jewish people at that time and beyond. But he's speaking specifically of, how do I live my life and how can you live? And so that my life is a living sacrifice. I'm continually living. I'm coming from a fountain of abundance, if you will. And that I want to make sure that they're always being taken care of. And that they always feel that love, they feel that support. We've talked about support and challenge on previous episodes. There's challenge involved there too. When he's talking about these stories, it's challenging for these disciples, these followers of Jesus at the time, to understand it and to live this way. And so what he's trying to do is he's doing this. He's showing a way of leading with vision, purpose. And so I talk about knowing and caring and protecting and sacrificing and having that voice. But what is it all if it doesn't have a purpose, if it doesn't have a vision? What are you doing this for? Because it's more than just feeling, good about ourselves. Like I said, if we could do that, that'd be just self-serving. It's like, what is the bigger picture here? And so one of the things and this I think is super powerful as I'm looking at this so I don't forget the verses, but one of the verses it says is that no one can take my life from me. This is where Jesus is talking to these disciples. It says, I sacrifice it voluntarily, for I have the authority to lay it down when I want to and also take it back up again, for this is what my Father, his God in heaven, has asked. But we want to do this voluntarily is what I want to get at. That we want to choose to do this, not because we have to, not we're coerced, if you will, but that we want to be that person because we know the positive impact it will have in leading with vision and purpose, because we know that this will help people. Oftentimes people ask me, like, why do you believe in the Bible? It was like, well, there's a lot of tough things in the Bible, but ultimately what I boil it down for me is it's about loving God and through that loving other people. And that's really what it comes down to. Do people feel loved? Do they feel like their arms are wrapped around? We're all imperfect beings in this journey. I like to say we're spiritual beings having a human experience. And in this human life, it's tough. It's challenging. I talked about this on my Business Roundtable podcast this week on the where we're talking about how we lead with kindness. But, it's understanding that we trust their leaders and that they're taking us to those green pastures, if you will. They're leading us into the correct direction to go, and that we can know that we're inspired to follow them. It's not about just achieving goals, which are all very important, but it's helping every team member find their purpose. What are they designed to do? And that we can give them clear steps to help them in their vision and align their efforts in reaching their shared goals. And so when we do this, we can create freedom with boundaries. We can actually help them and give them structure, if you will, help them grow and guide them. Again, if they have that vision and purpose, but giving them some boundaries, giving them a roadmap, giving them a solid foundation. And at times it's stepping back a little bit, maybe from a distance, and empowering others, like I mentioned earlier, to come in and help and take on responsibility as part of the team. But this is where that shepherd allows them to go out into the world and can watch from a hilltop, or have their sheepdogs come alongside, or perhaps another younger shepherd come alongside him or her, and create a trust-filled environment. Like, oh man, we can go out here, we can do this, we can explore this. I love that organizations that encourage being ingenious, being innovative, trying new things. They've created freedom and to explore, to do those things. And it's not so rigid and it's only this way, but they have created a culture of innovation, if you will. Super important as you grow a business, especially a young business, that they can see new things and adapt. And so as you listen to this podcast today, you may not be a shepherd, but you're a leader. And we want people to hear your voice, to see the vision and the purpose that you live for your own life and for the company and the organization that you're a part of. That you can be an encourager, that you can help provide a framework of success and put them in guidelines for them. And look, I want you to look at these. Are you showing care? Are you protecting sacrificially? I've covered a lot of different elements in this short time today, but I wanted to be prompting to you to think about these things, because the reality is we don't always do that, and we kind of go through our days and we're doing, and you may have heard that we're human doings instead of human beings. And I want to encourage you today to be a human being and to really take this in, soak it in. And if you're like, David, I hear some of these things, I struggle with some of them. I'm not sure creating a clear vision or purpose, or, my team struggles with some boundaries, or I don't know if they really feel cared for, to be honest with you. Would they listen to my voice and they really follow me truly out of their own accord because it's in their best interest, or no? You have that voice of a good leader. And I've struggled with this, and this is why I started Steward Your Business, why I bring the tools that I have, the different assessments and resources. Number one, to awaken ourselves, to hopefully become in alignment with who we truly can become. And I believe wholeheartedly that why I created this podcast and Steward Your Business and why I'm here today is to help others come together to accomplish great things. That is my passion. And so if you're struggling with yourself or your team, then I encourage you to reach out. I do a free discovery call. And I do this whole, coaching resources through Steward Yourself and others that are curated especially for you, and being a part of a community of others that are like-minded, that want to do better, and they know that they need the help, and they would go further together than they would alone. So consider your leadership style. Do you echo that of the Good Shepherd that I've talked about today, fostering trust, clarity, and purpose? And if you're struggling with areas of communication, connection, protection, vision, or empowerment, don't feel bad about it, because this has been talked about for thousands of years. That's why I'm going back to an old story here, because it's that impactful and that relevant even in today. And we're talking about election day, we're talking about other leaders, and I want to encourage you, when you look at leaders, are they leading from that place? And not just one of those, but all of those areas. Are they leading effectively? Are they leading themselves well in the way they take care of themselves physically, spiritually, emotionally, financially? All of these things are super important. And we want to look at that. And that's a healthiest leader. And I want to help you be the healthiest leader. Because here's the thing. Nobody's coming to save you. Government's not going to save you. Nobody else. I can't save you. Nobody's coming to save you. However, you, from the inside out, can be transformed and become that person that is a light in the world. And we need more light than we ever in today's world. And so I want to encourage you to reach out. I always love hearing from you, hearing your comments and your feedback. If this resonated with you, please leave a 5-star review on your favorite platform. I'm here on YouTube and Spreaker and Apple Podcasts and all of those, so you can subscribe, follow along. It means a lot. And if again, share this with others, so that you're not alone, and that you truly can be that Good Shepherd, willingly choosing to lead others from a place of abundance and from that intelligence that is making a world of difference in everybody's life, and starting with yourself. I appreciate you guys being here again on the Intelligent Human Leadership Podcast as your host, David Carr. It's an honor and a privilege to share with you every week insights and understandings that I'm applying to my own life, working with clients and others. And I look forward to being with you again in our next episode. Thanks everybody for listening. Take good care.